Now guys, we are going to create this simple counter app over here, and as you can see, these are the three buttons that the user can click on in order to increase or decrease the number. So when the user clicks on the increase button, you can see the counter is incremented by 1 over here, and once again when the user keeps on increasing the number, the counter is increasing over here. Apart from this, when the user clicks on the decrease button, the number should decrease by 1 this time, and when the user clicks on the reset button, the counter should be set to 0 over here. So guys, this is the functionality that we will be achieving by using the HTML, CSS and the JavaScript. So let us create a new folder inside the projects folder over here. So as you can see, we have this number counter folder in this case. Apart from this, let us create the three files, that is the index.html file and the style.css file and the script.js file over here inside the number counter folder. So we have created all the three files in this case, and then apart from this, inside the index.html file over here, what we have to do is simply let me just create the document template, and for the title tag we will say number counter app. So this is a string that we are setting, number counter app over here. Apart from this, let us also link the style.css file and the script.js file as well with this particular HTML file. So simply we will have the script tag along with the src attribute over here, and we will set the name of the JavaScript file as script.js file over here. Now guys, coming to the main content of the body in this case, let us provide the h2 tag over here, and then we will say counter app this time, and then followed by what we have to do is let us provide the div tag with the class container over here. So simply we have the div tag with the class container, and first of all we will simply have the count, that is using the div tag we will simply provide the count. By default it will be 0 over here. Let me just provide the id for this particular div tag, and simply we will say count in this case. Apart from this, we will have another div tag over here to contain all the buttons. So simply we will have the class buttons for this div tag, and then inside this simply we will have button over here, that is increase and decrease, and also we will have the reset button over here. So simply we will say increase as the first button, and then followed by the two more buttons that will have the value as decrease and the reset over here. Now guys, when the user clicks on the increase button, the value of the counter should be incremented by 1, and similarly when the user clicks on the decrease button, the value should be decremented by 1 over here. And then apart from this, when the user clicks on the reset button, the count should be reset to the 0 value. So guys, our live server is already running, so let us see what will be the output for this particular HTML content that we have created so far. So as you can see, this is the counter app that is getting displayed right now along with all the three buttons and the count as well. Now guys, let us also provide certain styling attributes to this entire page. So let me just copy the container class name over here, and then we will provide the dot character followed by the container class name. Now guys, what we will do is let us provide certain background color and also the width for this particular container. So let us say we have the width as 150 pixels and the background color as the aqua color over here. So let me just save this file now. So as you can see, we have the background color as well. Apart from this, let us also provide the padding as well of 10 pixels over here. Let me just increase the width to 200 pixels this time. So now as you can see, this is the div tag with the class container over here. Also what we will do is for the body tag, we will provide the text align as center so that the entire content is at the center of the screen. So simply we will provide text align, it is equal to center over here. So as you can see, we are getting the counter app at the center but not the div tag this time. So for the container class, which is representing the div tag, simply we will provide the margin, it is equal to auto. Since we have provided the width of 200 pixels, this line of code will help us in order to get this particular div tag at the center of the screen. So when we save this file now, as you can see, now we are getting the div tag at the center of the screen. Apart from this, we also want this particular div that is having the id as count to have a larger font size. So guys, what we can do is simply we will make use of the count ID over here. So we provide hash character followed by the count ID, and this time simply we will provide the font size over here. Let us provide the font size of 48 pixels. So as you can see, this is the counter that will be displayed. Let me just increase the size to 60 pixels. So this is the counter that will be incremented or decremented over here. Apart from this, let us also provide the border radius as well, so that the container looks more decent in this case. So we have the 10 pixels of border that is getting displayed over here. We will also provide the margin bottom property, which is one of the styling properties over here, to this count ID in this case. So as you can see, we have some space in between the buttons as well as the count number, as you can see. So now we are having certain space in between the counter number and the buttons over here. Now guys, coming to the main functionality, by using the JavaScript code, we need to implement the logic, that is when the user clicks on the increase button, the number should increase, or it should decrease over here by clicking on the decrease button, or it should reset to 0 when we click on the reset button over here. So let us move to the script.js file this time, and simply we will have to identify which button is clicked over here by using the input tag and the value of the button. So guys, how do we do that? Simply we will make use of the document keyword over here followed by dot, and then we have the query selector all in order to identify multiple HTML elements at the same time. So guys, over here simply we will make use of the class that is buttons in this case, inside which we need to identify the input button. So let me just copy the buttons class. So over here inside the single or the double quotes, we will provide the dot character, since we are using the name of the class over here, and then greater than symbol followed by input. We use this greater than symbol so that we exactly want this input tag to be present inside the buttons and not deep down within this particular class over here. So it should be the first child within this particular buttons class, and that is how we are going to identify the input tag. So in this case, we will provide the variable that is buttons on the left hand side. Let us also provide the console.log statement so that we will confirm whether we are successfully able to get all the input HTML elements or not. So when we save this file now, let us go to the console section of the browser. So as you can see, under the console section, we have the node list, which is having the 3 elements over here. So these are the inputs that are provided and identified using the JavaScript code. So as you can see, the increase button is getting highlighted over here when we get the mouse on the input, which is one of the items inside the node list. Now guys, apart from this, we also have to get the value based on which we will carry out the operation, that is increase or decrease. So we have something called as value property within this particular node list element, which will help us in order to get the value of the button over here. So what we have to do is, once we get all the buttons, we will make use of the iteration to go through all the buttons over here. So we use buttons followed by a dot, and then we have the for each method in order to iterate through all the buttons, which is going to take one parameter, and this for each method is going to take the callback function as the parameter. So basically this callback function will take one parameter, that is button over here, followed by the arrow function that we have provided. Now since we are storing 3 buttons over here inside the buttons variable, so every time the button will store individual button over here, and accordingly when the user clicks on the button, we need to get the value of the button by using the value property over here and carry out our operation. So guys, what we have to do is, simply we will make use of the button variable over here, which is the parameter for this callback function, followed by dot, and then we have the add event listener over here, which is going to take the first parameter as the click event, followed by the second parameter, which is once again going to be the callback function over here. So we are going to provide this arrow function, as you can see, and within this curly braces we need to carry out the operations, which means we need to check whether the button that is clicked, is it having the value as increase, decrease or reset. So guys, over here we need to provide the if condition followed by the button dot, and then we have the value in this case. So we need to get the value of the button, and then we need to check whether is it equal to this particular string, that is increase. So let me just copy this and paste this over here. So if it is increase, what we have to do is we need to get the value of the counter over here and then increment it by 1 in this case. So guys, before carrying out that particular logic, we need to identify this particular number over here. So simply we will once again make use of the document keyword followed by the query selector function this time, and we need to identify the div tag that is representing this counter over here. So simply we will make use of the id that is count this time. So we will use the hash character followed by the count over here, and simply we will say counter variable on the left hand side, and another variable that we will be using is count over here. Initially the value will be 0 in this case, which is going to increment or decrement the number based on the button click. So guys, initially the value is 0 over here. When the user clicks on the increase button, we need to increment this counter. So simply we will do count plus plus over here. So as you can see, we are incrementing the counter in this case, and if the user clicks on the decrease button, then we have another condition inside the else if. So over here we provide button dot value this time, and is it equal to decrease this time. So we are checking for another condition. Please note that this particular value should exactly match the value that we have provided over here. So let me just copy this and paste this so that we don't make any mistake. And this is one important tip that I have also learned with experience, that anytime you are dealing with such strings, it is very important that you copy from the source and then provide it inside the JavaScript code so that you don't make any mistakes. So guys, over here what we have to do is, once again we have to make use of the count variable, but this time we need to decrement, and that is why we have provided minus minus over here. And then in the third condition, that is the last condition, we will provide the else part, and it will be equal to 0 this time when the user clicks on the reset button. So when the user clicks on the button that is reset, which is not equal to increase or decrease, then the control flow will come inside the else part over here, and we will get the count it is equal to 0. And then guys, in the end what we have to do is simply we need to set this count to the counter HTML element. So guys, over here we will provide counter followed by dot, and then we have the inner HTML, it is equal to count this time. So these lines of code will help us in order to increase or decrease the counter number that is getting displayed inside our counter app. So guys, let us test this particular functionality. So when we reload this page, as you can see, by default we have the number that is 0 as the count. When we click on the increase, so as you can see, we are getting 1 over here. Then we click on decrease, we are getting 0 once again. So as you can see, we are now able to continuously increase the number by clicking on the increase button over here. And when we click on the decrease, as you can see, the number is decreasing. So this is the way that you can simply create the counter app as well. Now notice that we are going below the 0 numbers as well. So it is also allowing the negative numbers over here. So if you don't want the negative numbers, simply you can provide another condition when you are decreasing, that if the count is less than 0, then we have to provide the count is equal to 0. So guys, based on the project requirements, I'll leave this up to you as a homework. Apart from this, in order to test the reset button as well, when we click on the reset, so as you can see, the counter is back to 0 over here. So we have come from minus 10 to 0 this time. Let us increase the number, and then when we click on the reset once again from a positive number, it comes back to 0 over here. So this is a very simple counter app that we have created by using the HTML, CSS and the JavaScript code. So guys, comment in the comment section below whether you have learned something out of this video. Please make sure that you like this video so that it reaches to more people, and subscribe to the channel so that you get the notifications on upcoming videos as well. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, stay tuned.